You are greatly welcome to Future Setters Institute's Youth Development Show. This is a new episode, and this episode is going to be very interactive and filled with a lot to learn. It's a newer approach, and trust me, give your mind some rest, calm down, let it sink in, and let it flow. So there's a lot of pressure in the world, a lot of challenging situations. A lot of people go through so many things, trauma and all that in their workplace. Possibly that it's possible that the problem is from us, or possible that the problem is from them. So what do you do in such a situation? Do you just, join a place and start acting great, acting passionate, or just doing things the way you used to do it before? Or you create an atmosphere or understand the place you are and see how you can manage in that place. So this is what we are going to be discussing on, and that is how to cultivate a healthy attitude in the workplace. Now, firstly, some of you may be watching this live session for the first time. Now, Future Setters Institute is a growth hub where young minds are groomed on three core niches. Groom them in leadership, we groom them in work ethics, and we groom them in personal development. Because we believe every youth out there holds immense potential. Every youth out there has something valuable to offer to the world. Every youth out there should be given a chance, an opportunity to thrive. You see, we all have the best, no, we have the best things, but one thing we lack is opportunity. And that is why we decided to, have these programs, these live sessions, to introduce you to international persons who have experienced a lot in what they do, to share their story and also impact you from their story and their experience. So do well to stay with us today while we are going to be interacting on something great and something worthwhile. So together with me, they have a very great woman in the person of Mona Louhichi. She's an intelligence officer and one filled with so much wisdom and so much passion. I must say, listen to her, give her all the necessary attention because you will be filled with a lot today. Now, while I just did this introduction, I would love her to, also tell us about herself, what she does, and how she tends to solve some of the problems she has around her. So, Mona, you are welcome.
Thanks, Victor. That's pretty nice intro, honestly. Before I start, thank you for having me today. And a little bit about me. I'm Mona. I'm from Tunisia. I'm a former English teacher. Basically, I worked in Turkey, Vietnam, and Tunisia. But right now, I'm an intelligence officer with an NGO. But I also am an ICF, which stands for International Coaching Federation. PCC in training. Again, it stands for Professional Certified Coach in Training. Uh, Basically, we'll be discussing more about like our attitudes at work, basically, and how each one of us basically um reacts to certain situations at the workplace, that's to say, and that's basically it, I would say. You're
Awesome.
free to.
Awesome. So, you've spoken very well. And I'm your host for today, Victor Otasowie. And one core thing we've observed so far is you have colleagues at work, the way they look at you, the way they respond to situations, they actually do things like they are less concerned. They don't believe in building relationships. They feel they are the only one. So everything must resonate around them, that without them, it won't work. So they come up with this whole attitude of, you know, trying to bring new things to the system. But actually, it's not wrong to bring new things to the system. But we also need to understand that there was a system before you came. So, what kind of attitude do we have in the workplace? How do we behave when we are around people? Do we isolate ourselves? Do we feel that we are the only one in the room, that no one can approach us to share their opinions? Yes, we are leaders. We just feel, oh, nothing. We don't give. We don't tell people about our activities. We are not answerable to persons. So all these are things we are going to discuss today. So firstly, we'll talk about attitude. What kind of attitude do you have? How do people see you in that place? Do people hate you? Do they love you? Do they value you? These are things we are going to talk about. So, now, what do you really see? How do you really see attitude? This whole attitude of a thing where people just, behave in the way they love to behave, and they end up hurting people in the workplace. What do you have to say about that?
I mean, I would say that's pretty interesting thing to think of because in order to understand the situation, we need to understand what attitude is. So, when we're talking about attitude at a workplace, I would say it's basically the mindset and approach you decide to show up at work with towards the job itself, the colleagues, the tasks actually that are assigned to you. Now, when we're talking about the mindset and approach, it would be you could actually see it through your actions, your words, and the way basically you treat others. And pretty example related to that, I would say basically if you really love your job so much and you enjoy what you're doing, so the attitude you'll be portraying is going to be positive, but is helpful kind, in which you're going to be not missing a chance to help anybody at work or like share any um, knowledge or experience so you've got from work basically. However, if you have like a negative attitude at work, it would go like, okay, basically you hate your job and you hate the things you are doing. Now, you could actually see it in what you're doing. You won't be enjoying anything you're doing, and it's going to be very obvious. Whoever really watches you or observes you from afar would understand that you really hate the job. Why? Because basically, I would say you're not doing your best or you're not doing anything at work because you're taking everything for granted. Okay, you're underpaid, you're mistreated, so you just decide to show up to work, just do whatever you have to do without even trying to communicate to your colleagues or anything. And you'll be hating every minute of the moment, I would say. So, the reason why we always relate to attitude at the workplace is one of the places basically. But if we think about it in a broader way, it's basically in everything we do. Our attitude basically defines the way we react to certain situations, treat certain people, and learning how to cultivate a positive one would have basically a huge effect on your relationship with your colleagues, friends, or the people around you, basically. And one point actually you mentioned, it would define whether they would hate you or they would enjoy working or being with you.
Awesome.
That's basically
That's
it.
very true. That's very true. And I've been in situations in some places or maybe establishments where some staffs, maybe in the government sector, they feel, oh, they are not answerable to no one. They are not answerable to anyone. So they feel so nonchalant in their behavior. So in terms of that, activities they are supposed to perform at that particular day, because no one is checking them out, they don't perform. They just feel relaxed. They just go to work, they just mark attendance, they just sit down and feel so relaxed about it. So in that part you said, we need to work on it and all that. That is one thing. So the attitude we have should change from the aspect of just getting money to providing value. So in that place now, in that place you are working, maybe you are working somewhere. Are you working there so that you can get recommendation, or you are working there so that you can just, just warm the bench and just, when you leave there, no one says anything about you. So that's something that we also need to look into. So understand that that place you are working, there has to be something good you are doing there that makes you unique, that makes you valuable. So you may just be in a place. Another thing is in the school system. Some persons working in schools, in terms of government schools. That's even an instance I was trying to use. Government schools, you know that they are supposed to teach 5 periods, but they don't teach the 5 periods. Just, you know, no need. They come to your office, uncle, you are supposed to be there. Says there, no need. Don't worry. Before you know, it's already over. The day is already over. You didn't really perform your duty. But in the private sector, this attitude that we have in the public sector, we don't behave in such way in the private sector. The private sector, we now know that people are watching us because there is pressure. We now know that yes, we have to deliver on our promises. That if we don't deliver on our promises, there will be a very big problem there. So that is one thing that we also need to look at. Don't just feel that I'm there, I have the money, I'm getting the money and all that. Also think about what you stand to offer to the people out there. And this brings me to some of the challenges that in their workplace. First things first, I'll talk about the fact some of us feel we are irreplaceable at work. A lot of us feel they are irreplaceable at work. Can you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Can you hear me,
Yeah, I was
Mona?
just, yes, I do. I
Okay,
was just like
okay,
waiting for you to
okay,
finish.
okay, awesome. So, like I say some of us feel we are irreplaceable at work. That is one challenge that made me to, draft out this topic. That you feel you are irreplaceable at work. That's not. Another one is we don't really we feel there's no competition. When we see a competitor, we see someone now doing very well, we now see the longing to want to improve. Such a situation where there is competition, then we now see reasons why we need to improve on our activities. So that's already something that we need to also. Then in terms of also when we see older persons around us, older persons feel, they think in an archaic manner because they feel, this is the way things are being done, this is the way things are being done. But in a situation where a younger person, what happens? So, Mona, what do you think in this category? The aspect of this whole, these whole issues I raised in terms of competition, in terms of the age, in terms of the whole nonchalant behavior some people exhibit. What are some of the possibilities that people can do in that category?
All right. To be fair, you mentioned many points that I really would love to answer all of them, but I'll try basically. You mentioned one thing in the beginning for example, government officials who just decide to show up to work, do nothing, just chill because that comes with the position. Some people, as you mentioned, think they are irreplaceable, or they think that they have acquired enough experience to the point that they can just rest at work and do nothing, just to delegate random tasks to junior employees. And for them, they'll be just drinking coffee, watching movies. That's all, spending that the whole day. Why? Because I would say the system has a huge role in that. Now, in government work, you'd find a lot of people not really doing their work because for them they think, okay, I'm not going to lose my job. There is no one can replace me. So basically, why would I care? So you find them really super careless at work. Now, however, when you mentioned about like teachers, for example, I could absolutely relate to the topic in a very different way, to be honest, because when we're thinking of attitude at work, There are other factors that dictate our attitude towards work, which is the environment, the colleagues, I would say, the management, the pay, which is, I should have put it first, actually. Pay is really important. So think of it, you're underpaid, you're undervalued at work, and you're constantly giving a lot of tasks and things to do with zero appreciation. So basically, you'd find yourself going to class, just giving the lesson. When it finishes, just to go home and not even think of doing anything extra. Why? Because when you think of it, when you think of making any extra efforts related to work, you'd think that it's useless to do that because it's going to be ignored in the eventually. And that that thing I really could relate to it. However, who's going to be the victim in this situation? It's going to be the kids. So I'm not sure how we can do, like maybe we need to train more management how to deal with their employees in order to optimize workplace environment, that's to say. So people or like employees' attitude toward work would be more positive and it would be basically nicer and kind of toward each other. I think you also mentioned other points. Please feel free to remind me what were the other points you mentioned. You asked me a question earlier on. What was that?
Okay. Okay. I talked about in a situation where we feel we are irreplaceable at work. I don't know if you got that
Yeah,
question. Okay.
I mean, I'm not sure. Like, I think people with like management position who've been in the institute for like many years, they would think they are irreplaceable. However, if we think about it, everyone is replaceable at work. Now, when you're talking about that point, it reminded me of a point you mentioned last time. It was about a senior management attitude toward a junior one who comes up with the new ideas, but the manager
Yes.
basically sets them down and not even accept to listen to these new ideas uh, because they're a bit close-minded. Now, the thing is, I remember clearly the example you gave. It was this new junior employee is bringing up new ideas at work that would actually make work much more efficient. However, like the
Actually.
director or the manager is refusing to accept that. However, like if we think of it from a different perspective, we can think that the manager might feel threatened by the junior, basically. Why? Because we're not going to be talking about experience. Okay, when we're talking about experience, why? Why is okay, the manager has the higher end, basically. However, when we're talking about innovation,
Experience.
new
Yes.
aspects to work, who's going to be the one chosen is going to be the junior one. So most of the time, you'd find that they're basically rejecting any innovative ideas because they're not accepting this kind of change. Because when we're thinking of change, that's when actually the idea of them being replaced would pop up in their head and it would be like a threat for them. So, what to do in this situation? Just start it from the beginning and avoid any possible threats for you and your position and your peace, that's to say. Now, that would be basically a waste of potential and energy, that's to say. But I would say if you're feeling threatened, your attitude toward people and toward work would be really at risk. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
Awesome. You said a very great point. And like you said, one very big challenge is some of us feel when we see someone doing better than us. Yes, you are in a particular field. You know deep down that this is your responsibility, but you decide to shy away from your responsibility. And then they now come for someone to come in to fill that void. Then you are wild. Why? It's new, so nothing is going to happen. You still feel so relaxed watching the person. Although to you, the management has a plan. They have a plan. Then all of a sudden, you notice that almost all your responsibilities are dashed to the person. Now you begin to wonder, wow, how come it happened all of a sudden? So all this happens a lot, and that is the more reason why we need to, you know, change our attitude towards work. Cultivate a positive attitude and state it clearly or understand your mission, the reason why you are doing something. Understand your that is the thing. So one thing is you need to have a clear objective. A clear objective in a situation when you are given a role, for example, you are assigned a particular function to do something. You were given that role for use. Now, a public relations officer should not be told to send messages. I don't know if you get my point very well. A public relations officer is not supposed to be
Mhm.
told to send messages every time. Go and send this message. Go and send that message. A public relations officer already knows his role. So he should be the one asking, oh, what is the next thing going on? Should be involved, asking questions. How can I come in? Any message that needs to be disseminated must go through the public relations officer. But in a situation where the public relations officer feels nonchalant, feels it's not important, is not interested, what happens? That public relations officer will notice that someone else is giving that responsibility to work. And what happens is you complaining, you feeling you are so busy for something. Someone else now takes over that responsibility and does it very well. I begin to wonder why? How did it all happen? Because you gave room for that. So our attitude at work can either build us or it can break us. So let's understand that opportunities come in a while, does not come all the time. So that opportunity you have, how are you using it? How are you using it? How are you delivering on the promises you've made? You've promised that, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. But when it's time to fulfill the promise, you are not there to fulfill the promise. So that is one major thing. Then another thing is we need to understand that age is not a limitation to success. Age is a number. So you see this whole idea of older staffs feeling that they know it all, the younger persons coming into the system, trying to you know, try to match the standard of the older staffs. Some older staffs feel they know it all. So they don't even take ideas from the younger persons. But one core thing is every person's idea matter. If we can, listen to people, we can match their ideas. You see that, oh, this person's idea is great. This other person's idea is great. Definitely we can match it. So in a way, in a situation where Mona is saying, oh, let's work on this project.
Mm.
This is the way I've done it before. It's possible that if I do it this way, it's going to work out fine. How about we try it out? Mona is telling us based on experience. So why should we not listen to Mona? So that is something that we also need to work on. And also another thing is the way we communicate the idea could also be a limitation. So some of us have these all great ideas, but the issue we have is we don't really know how to communicate the idea in a simple manner. So we need to work on how we communicate these great ideas. If we can communicate these ideas very well, when it comes to the aspect of verbal communication, non-verbal communication. You see a staff, you are trying to tell the person, I value you in this organization. I value you. I think that should go with a smile or something. Or you try to look responsible in a way, trying to tell the person something. But in a situation you are frowning your face trying to pass a document. Someone is telling you. I've been in some situations. I'll give you an instance. In a place I've worked as a secretary before, they are sending messages that needs to be passed through the secretary. So the president now tells the public relations officer to pass this information to the secretary. In a situation where the president is supposed to pass this information to the secretary, the president is not in good connection with the secretary. So he's now sending a second person to do the message, pass the message. So all this matters. So you know that you are the one supposed to deliver on this. Don't assign it to someone else. You know your responsibility. You are supposed to, pass that message. If you actually pass that message, the person will understand it better. But when you decide to run away from it, you give it to someone else. The person passes the message, but the message is not understood. It's misinterpreted. So we need to work on this aspect of the way we communicate in the workplace. So I would love to hear from you, Mona. How do you really view this whole communication aspect, communication barriers and gaps that exist in organizations? How do you really go about this whole communication gaps? You just share some
That
of these things with us.
that's pretty like all the points you mentioned are actually valid points. Like I would start with the first one actually, the age. Now, when we're thinking about the way we show up to work, we should also think of other things, which are, for instance, I would think of like self-confidence, basically believing in ourselves. These things we are not basically born with. However, at some point we come to learn. Now, um, for some people, age is a problem, thinking that because they are too young, so their ideas are most probably not going to be taken into consideration because they think they don't have enough experience compared to the other people they are talking to. Now, however, in my own experience, in the beginning, it was like um, I mean, I found it like it was a problem for me, but then I realized that was all in my head. Just to make the idea clearer, I would say when I first moved to Turkey and I was like a teacher, I think I was like 23, 24, but I was teaching older people. Now, at that moment, I felt like, okay, but they are way older than me, more experienced than me. How can I really help them? And I was just like there to teach them a language. Now, at some point it was like really like a weakness for me, my age. It was like I'm not really a reliable person or person that would really they would take like knowledge from because I thought my experience was not enough compared to theirs. However, I missed one important point that luckily in my experience, the the students I had who were older than me, were more experienced than me, they came up with an attitude of a learning attitude. They didn't think that my age mattered. For them, they saw me as a foreigner whose language skills uh, are better than them, and basically I could help them in improving their language skills. They were actually showed up with curious minds and like open-minded mind in order to get to know more about me, about my experience. And that's actually when I realized that, okay, so apparently even though I'm younger than them, I can still learn, like, I can still teach them something. They can still learn something from me. And that's actually when I realized later on when I was teaching kids. I realized that I also can learn from kids as well. You'll be really amazed about the stuff that you can learn from kids as well. Like, I don't know, 5, 6 years old. You can learn wonders from them. So, what I'm trying to say here is that age, as you mentioned, we would say it might sound like I don't know, like weird when I say age is just a number, but it actually is. Because The way we decide to show up in front of everybody, whether at work or in real life, is what matters. Not how old you are, not just how many experience or years of experience you've got, because experience is experience. In all the things, in all the ways, it
That's true.
matters. So whether you have 1 year experience or I don't know, 20, 30 years of experience, it doesn't matter. I can learn from you and you can still learn from me. But if I'm fully
Actually,
confident in myself and I would not let that trigger my self-esteem. So if you're a fully confident person and trust your own potential and believe in the fact that everyone has a potential, whether younger or older than you, that's when actually you decide not to see younger people or older people as a threat. Because in my own experience, I realized that like student of mine, for example, who was like I had many, that's to say, I'm just giving it as one example, who was way older than me. I mean, he was a junior at some point. I mean, he built all these of experience from work, hard work, and he only reached that level from basically a hard work, or I would say just working hard toward improving themselves and developing their skills. I can be there at some point, and comparing myself to more experienced people would be just too unfair to myself. Because that's the thing that we do when we are young. We tend to compare ourselves to more experienced people. We think that we don't know enough, we're not skilled enough, we're not good enough, so we're not going to be taken seriously at work on any situation. I can't really communicate my ideas clearly because nobody was going to listen to me. Now, if I show up with this attitude, of course, nobody's going to listen to me. But if I decide to show up and I'm like, it's okay, I know I'm young, I know that I don't have many experience, and I know that I'm learning, I'm trying to develop myself more. I mean, the way I would show up in front of everybody would be absolutely different. I would not see differences as threats. No, I would just see them as an opportunity to learn something. Because if we think of it as we can always learn from anybody around us, that would help. But what improved, to answer your question, what improved my communication skills was actually a supervisor of mine I had. And the same experience I had as a teacher when I was a very young teacher, I had not really any experience working abroad. Uh, Speaking up was really, really hard. So it felt awkward to defend myself, even if a person mistreated me. However, I would say I got lucky. So my supervisor was the one who's watching out for me, and he was the one who pushed me basically to start speaking up. It felt super uncomfortable in the beginning because it did not feel like it was me. Then, I mean, I don't know, like as a person, I would start, I don't know, tearing or I get red or something, and it really gets super uncomfortable. But then I was like, it's fine to feel like that. Um, and I remember at that moment, my supervisor was just like pushing me to do it and believing in the fact that I can do it. So that helped me a bit, knowing that I had like a support. So whatever I do, there is that support to protect me, I would say. And that boosted my confidence. So my attitude absolutely changed because I remember I was like, it was a very toxic environment. And I came with an attitude. I was like, okay, I observed the toxic environment. I was like, I'm not going to be like that, guys, and stay for a very long time and like let it affect me. And then, like, so many people were laughing at me. They were like, everybody started like that. We always said that we're not going to stay for long, and here we are, many years later, we're still in that toxic environment. And I'm like, that's not going to be my experience. And fortunately enough, a few years later, I found a better opportunity, and that's when I left. I'm like, see, guys, I told you I'm going to leave because the way I was approaching the situation was in a more like, I do believe in the fact that I won't accept this because it does not align with my values and the way I see myself at work. So I won't let it affect me, stay in a very toxic place in order to drain my energy and everything. No, I'm here to learn something. I did not leave my country and my comfort zone and my family to accept and give in these circumstances. So that was basically the thing that pushed me harder to change my circumstances. That pushed me harder to speak up even more, whether at work or even no. Like I used to basically not defend myself at all. In a way, if you I don't know, like mistreated me or like took my meal. Okay, now I'm not talking about meal. If you took my stuff, I would not complain. I wouldn't like it, but I would not complain because I don't know how to. I was not taught how to. I would say culture, environment, that like your upbringing plays a huge role in that, but it does not basically define where you're going to end up being. Now it's all up to the way you perceive the situation, I would say. In my case, I saw it as an I'm like, okay, I respect my values, respect my upbringings, but there were some things that I did not like about, for example, speaking up, defending myself. I needed to learn that because if I don't learn that, I'll be exploited a lot, which we most of the time are. So speaking up helped me a lot. So that basically trained me for years later when I moved again to Vietnam to work to defend myself when things went wrong at work. And I do remember that it was awkward for like some of my colleagues because they were not used to seeing people defending themselves or speaking up, or like I was not rude in a way, but I was just like I would say defending my rights and myself. I know I did what I'm supposed to be doing, so I'm supposed to be receiving what I was basically promised to receive from the beginning. When that was not even there, I found myself like I had to speak up because if I don't do, they would believe that I accept these circumstances, and it would even get worse because that's how it works in a bad environment, workplace, I would say. They would test you, basically, they test the water in the beginning, they do something to you, and then they would see, did you accept that? Did you react toward that situation? And from then, they're going to be either doing it more often or want to do it or like be more careful about it. So speaking up, although it might seem so uncomfortable, is an important thing. And believing in yourself, no matter how old you are, whether you're 14, 16, 12, doesn't matter. Believing in yourself would help you basically in learning how to defend yourself and develop a good attitude towards certain situation or a healthier attitude, I would say. Um, here you go. I'm sorry I went on for a very long time, but that's the point. Victor, can you hear me? Right. So until Victor comes. So what I was trying to say, here you go.
Network issue was kind of like trying to break, but I was able to sort it out. Can you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You spoke really well, I must say, and we need to speak up. We need to speak up, and that's for a fact. And you don't need to be in a toxic environment, just like you said too. So I will share a story. Back then, I always like to use this story as an example. Back then, I was still much younger. I was in an organization. Currently, I'm still in that organization anyway. Back then, we had a president who was authoritative. Now, he loves things done his own way. So when they see a young person, says, you this small boy are trying to challenge me. You understand? It's like,
Mhm.
why? Someone is coming, I'm seeing him doing things wrongly. But back then I was like, why about we do this way? How about we do this way? Don't no no don't bring this idea to me. When he just hears Victor is the one bringing this idea, it's not supported. He always loves to go against Victor. Victor should not be the one bringing it up. You understand? So we were unable to achieve any program. We were unable to achieve anything because of the leader. So in some situations, the attitude may be good. It's possible that the person's environment is the limitation. It's possible that the environment is the limitation. It's also possible that the person is the limitation, is the person having the problem. So if you observe, just like you said, you are in a toxic environment, that this environment does not support your growth, then you need to leave that environment and find a better place. Just the way Mona left where she used to be before and found a better place for herself. So also we also can find a better place for ourselves where we are valued. That is one core thing. So we need to find a place that will actually suit our values, where we can actually influence people the way we want to influence people, the way we want to do things, the way we want to share talents, gifts, and all that. That is one thing we need to do. And another thing which I feel we can also work on, so build on our attitude and all that. Let's try to volunteer. Try to volunteer in activities.
Mm.
We don't learn by staying idle. We don't learn by being calm, just being in that place without using what we know. We learn by trying to accept certain things that come our way. So there are certain skills people need. They need this person to do this particular job, and you know you can do it. Just accept it and give yourself an opportunity to learn on the job and improve. So today the person is there. Tomorrow you may be the one there. So it is the sacrifice you made right now for that day. That's what will help you to achieve success. But in a situation where you now feel that you need to wait, you need to do this, you need to do that, all this limits you, affects you very well. So I would say learn to volunteer. You know you are going, try to do it, try to work on it, and you know there is no skill that cannot be learned. Just like Mona said, there is no skill that cannot be learned. Everything we have today, every skill, every gift we have today, at some point in time, we learned it from somewhere. So someone telling you that you are not experienced enough, just give it some time. You see that you already experienced in that particular thing. So another thing is
Mm.
the the attitude in terms of let's be transparent. Yes, that's let's try to be transparent. Be very transparent and sincere. If you are telling someone, like I said in the beginning, you value the person, you see so much potential in the person, be honest by your words. Do you truly value the person, or you are actually trying to do eye service? Make it look real that you value the person, but by actions, you are not really showing that you value the person. How do you show it? How do you show that you are really you understand what you are doing in that organization? You understand your role in that organization. So all these things actually matters a lot. Then let's try to see how we make our colleagues. Yes, we want to be a professional system where we don't make it too friendly and all that, but also try to make your colleagues your friends at some point in time. Make your colleagues your. There are certain times, certain problems you may be going through. in that workplace. And you may need someone to call at that moment. But because of the attitude you have in that organization, you want to reach out to someone, no one listens, no one even cares, no one supports you in that place. So if we have a very good attitude and we possibly reach out to someone and tell the person, oh, I'm having this challenge, I'm having this issue, hospital, oh, I'm sick, oh, I'm this, the attitude you have towards that person will determine the response the person will give towards you. So we should also understand that our attitude plays a huge role. We are not building it, we are not saying we want to do it for now alone. We are looking at how about after now? How about after now? You have done something, you have worked with someone now, you've done something, you've shown that you are really interested in helping the person or doing a lot of things. How about after now? Will you still communicate again? Will the person still come again? What are you really doing? What are you really showing that will give that person that urge to really, to really appreciate you or really do things in line with what you are doing? So that's something we need to look at. So the way we behave affects the response people give a lot of times. And let's another one you
Um,
talked about is confidence and self-esteem. Yeah, a lot of people are introverts. Some persons are extroverts. What do you have to say about that? How does it really influence, our attitude in the workplace? In a situation where some persons are introverts, they don't really speak out, and a situation where some people are extroverts. What do you think about that?
I mean, basically, you mentioned some points that I actually will basically go through later on after answering your question. Uh, True. We always think of it as like, okay, I'm an extroverted person, so it would be easier for me to communicate at work or like to make friends at work or something. But if I'm introverted, then I'll be just isolating myself from everybody, and it will be really difficult for me to make any friendships. But I would put it though, whether you're introverted or extroverted does not define actually anything at work. I mean, in my own experience, to be fair, it's not like like a ground rule. No, I'm an extroverted person. Yes, it helped me in making friendships, but it not helping me in speaking up. It did not help me um, in certain things as well. So being an extroverted maybe minimize the damage, I would say, but it did not define how my experience is going to be. Some people, they're a bit shy. I understand it. Like, so it's for them, it's really hard to speak to anybody. I would say um, trying a bit to work on their self-esteem, because most of the time it's related to self-esteem. They don't have enough confidence in themselves and they don't believe in themselves basically. So they choose just to isolate themselves rather than talk to anybody. Now, I'll be real here. Not all workplaces are good and not all colleagues are to be friended. Let's be clear on that point. However, I would say um, in a situation where an introverted person would refuse or even remove the idea of asking help at work, basically what would that cost them? It would cost them more time, more energy doing the work rather than just listening to like a second opinion or like asking for a second hand. Now, it's all up to the way you decide to show up. Yes, it's okay to be introverted, it's okay to be extroverted, but there is a self-work. We need to do some homework basically related to ourselves in terms of um, how to see different environments. For example, I know so many people who are introverted, but at work, you don't even think they are introverted. Why? Because basically they separate both of them. They know at work they need to accept work. Sorry, at work they need to accept help and they need to ask for help. So when you see them, you don't even think they are introverted. However, when outside of work, you'd find them. Uh, when you left, I was given the example of some people who are introverted. However, at work, when you look at them, you think they are actually extroverted. They're very social. However, that's not the case. It's just that they do separate between the two things. When it's about their personal life, it's one thing. So they decide to be on their own. They wouldn't let anybody to come in. However, at work, they would need to work with people, so they need to uh, ask help, get more insights, learn from other people's experience, basically. So I would say it does not define anything, but it plays a role, but not a really crucial role. I want to mention, like you mentioned a few things earlier related to volunteering, by the way. I would say you've got a valid point related to volunteering. And I wouldn't say any type of volunteering. Volunteering in NGOs is really, really important. I think you could relate to that with Future Setters Institute. Now, what helped me in my experience when I was in university, it was I joined an organization that was aimed to improve our community. That's to say, it was a GCI, Junior Chamber International. They have it all over the world. And so,
Wow,
who
wow. It's also in
who
Nigeria.
Yes,
It's also in
so it is
Nigeria.
like all over the world. It is all over the world. It's a pretty nice organization, I would say. There, we share ideas. And actually, I went with zero experience. Okay, I had social skills, but like not in that setting. It was the first time ever for me to participate in these kind of environments, let's just say. But I saw people who are so welcoming because who joins organizations? People who are open-minded, who are willing to learn, who want to learn, and who want to be uh, of a use, that's to say, to their community and to themselves and the people around them, that would say. So I've learned a lot of things from these people. I learned how to manage a project, and basically they gave me a project the first in the first meeting I've ever attended. They gave me a whole project, although I had zero experience. But what helped me in that, it was the fact that nobody believed that I couldn't make it. I was the only one who thought I wouldn't be able to make it. But they did support me in a way that um, whenever I felt like I don't know where to go, I would just talk to one of them and they would just direct me or help me. And like they basically would spend some time in planning the project and helping me in organizing, looking for funding, and basically distributing uh, like the project result. It was a really precious experience that helped me and shaped basically my perception uh, of basically teamwork because that's when I learned the importance of teamwork. Uh, Teamwork is really crucial in a way that, okay, I have this experience, but I do like this experience. However, you do have the experience I like, but you don't have the experience I have. What we do is that we learn from each other. I tell you the tips and tricks, or I tell you what to do about it, and you also tell me what. So it's like it's the missing puzzles,
Please,
I would say, like we complete like each other. So the skills we've got, if we combine them together, we can make wonderful uh, things and projects, I would say. So the important why it is really important to volunteer, but because volunteering would give you a snippet of how it would look like later on at work. Now, okay, there is no pay, to be fair, in some volunteering opportunities. However, you will learn teamwork. You would learn certain skills. You would actually forge other skills, and it would boost your self-confidence as well. So you wouldn't be like I would say, pacing around or like hesitated whether to do it or not. You'd try to give it a try anyway, because um, you know that you're not alone in that organization, I would say. Now, I'm speaking only from my experience, to be fair. I don't have any other experience in other NGOs, so I don't know how like the work goes. You feel free basically to share your experience on that matter. I'd love to hear it. But from my own experience, I would say the time I spent with junior, like the GCI, it was the time that I've learned a lot of things. Teamwork, I mentioned it. I can just repeat it. Teamwork, how to believe in myself, how to not hesitate to share my ideas, um, and other aspects as well. So I highly recommend it to anybody, how old you are. It is something to give it a try. Whether GCI, I'm not promoting for them to be fair, but it's something I've learned from, but I would highly recommend it to anybody else. But I would I would say, as you mentioned, don't hesitate to go and volunteer, try to work, try to move around, meet different type of people. So you'll be learning a lot of things from their own experience. That's to say. So that's basically about
Very great one.
volunteering.
That's a very
Um,
great one, I must say. So far, I've volunteered in certain organizations, and I would say that it has really helped me in the long run to achieve a lot of things, to learn a lot of things. And if you don't volunteer, you won't grow. And I've met a lot of persons. Let me give some instances. I've met some persons who, when they are told to do something for free, that's in terms of volunteering, they'll be like, "Why? I have the skills. I'm groomed already for. So why should I do this free?" So some persons feel like everything should be paid. But there's one thing we need to understand, which is understand that those free are rooms for you to learn and gain experience. So those places that give you room, go and do free, do this. It's an opportunity for you to learn. But you observe that as some of us just want things to be paid all the time. There's also a rule, a law, which I learned from someone, call it a law of reciprocity. I don't know if you've heard of that law before. There's a law called law of reciprocity. Sometimes you need to do things
mhm,
for free, do things for free, just build things. And later on, you start seeing the results coming in. Those persons you built may end up want to give back to what you are doing. So understand that it's not all the time you get things. You do things for a price. Sometimes you just have to build on some persons, impact their lives, help them, and let's see how it happens in the long run. And you start seeing a lot of great things along the way. Just like you said, volunteering is very much important to achieve success. You need to volunteer. It's
but
not
Victor,
something that you can ignore, something that you can keep aside.
mhm.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
It's just,
Okay.
if I may, if you're to reflect on your experience from volunteering, looking back, basically, what's the development you do see in
Yeah.
yourself that volunteering helped you reach, I would say?
Okay. I didn't get you due to network issues. Could you possibly
No
repeat the
worries.
question?
Sure. I would say if you're to reflect on your experience with volunteering, like look back to where you actually started volunteering and how you were as a person, like before starting the volunteering, that I would say, up to now. what are the developments that you have actually reached and that volunteering helped you in reaching, I would say.
Okay. So in terms of volunteering, the first thing is as a graphic designer, you've not
Mm-hmm.
really you've I've not really at some point in time really done graphics in the sense that maybe I designed for certain organizations and all that. Back then someone just came in and I was designing with PowerPoint before. That was the first instance. Someone was like, you're designing with PowerPoint. That means in an organization. You are designing with PowerPoint.
Mm-hmm.
What's that? I told him I also using Short and other applications. He was like, wow, that's what you use. I told him,
Mm-hmm.
been having issues with Corel Draw and all those. And then he told me, just sit down. Let me show you how to do it. Then he just sat down. And we sat down together, started, instructing me, doing it practically. We're just doing it step by step. From there, I started learning it. And what happened? I didn't just learn it. I also, volunteered in certain organizations that will need this. I did it for free for them. And also, this helped me to grow on my skills. That is one instance. Grow on my skills. There are also certain organizations too. Back then, after attending the leadership school, which I attended for 1 year, after attending this leadership school, I started discovering that some organizations were in need of my service. They wanted me to come and give a talk, a lecture in their program, and I did for free. I did this for free, and after
Victor, I think he has some internet issues. I think what Victor was trying to say is that volunteering helped him in improving certain skills and acquiring new ones. That's to say, so you don't have to get something in return all the time to learn something. So basically, here you go. I was trying to summarize what you said.
okay,
It's
okay,
all
thank
right.
you so much. So,
Mhm.
okay, so I've been in an organization and after some time volunteering, giving talks in certain places and all that. This also helped me, built me, and also gave me the opportunity to, to communicate more, to learn from the places I had issues. Okay, after doing organization, I go to another organization. I observe that yes, they have different audience. I know how to flow with this audience, know how to flow with that audience. All these are things that uh a person can also work on. So volunteering helps us in the long run to achieve success. So volunteering helps us in the long run to achieve success. Yes, if we always feel we have to be paid for this and that. But at some point in time, it's always good to to try it out, give it a chance, right? And one thing I always advise people on is when you learn a skill, one thing I always advise people on is try to volunteer in some organizations with those skills. And when you do well in those skills, you impress them, then you begin recommendations from you've learned something and in a situation where you've learned something and you don't really have the system to put it into practice, that's where issues start coming in. So Don't just learn something. Try to volunteer with those skills. And when you start bringing yourself out, you start seeing a lot of great things along the way too.
True. I absolutely agree with you.
Once more, I want to sincerely appreciate you, Mona Louhichi. Is it Louhichi or Louhichi, please? Not to be so sure about the
Louhichi.
pronunciation.
Louhichi. Louhichi.
Okay, Louhichi. Okay,
Mona is fine.
Louhichi. Okay,
Mona
okay.
is fine.
Okay, okay. Once more, I want to sincerely appreciate you for being with us on this great program. I must say it was a very wonderful and interactive session. And I also believe our audience also enjoyed the session as well too. Once more, you are a great person and you are definitely going far. Keep up the good work you are doing on Instagram and or your social media handles. And also, after this program, you can drop your social media handle in the comments on LinkedIn so that people can follow you. And you could also drop a comment so people can also follow you on LinkedIn. So to our great audience, feel free to follow Mona on LinkedIn and also on Instagram. She's doing very well, and she needs our support to also. So let's support her. Let's follow her online as well too. So we'll have a very short break where we'll display uh, our upcoming project. Immediately after that, we'll wrap up. We'll wrap up the call.
Greetings to you, great mind. My name is Victor Otasowie, the founder of Future Setters Institute. We are currently working on Future Setters Institute school project. Now, the focus of this project is to help every young person out there to get quality education. Now, we have observed that a particular area in Nigeria, which is Ekiwa, is currently in need of a very great school which people can learn and build themselves in science, and they can also build themselves on computer literacy skills. Not just on that, we can also help them to be mentored, help them to become groomed in the aspect of leadership and personal development. How do we go about that? That is why we have launched this project. We are working on it, and we believe that with your support, with your ideas, and with your financial commitment, we can make this project a reality.
Attached to this video is our GoFundMe campaign link to support us. Thank you so much.
Multiply root 75 by root 3. Are you hearing you can hear what I'm saying, right? So
Idea of special angles comes into play. So what we are going to do now, as we have this triangle now, we're going to break this triangle into so many parts. Now we start from this x. Now we don't know what x is.
you in the long run to achieve a lot of success. So this is not part of our class, but I still gave you these hints. So try to download that VidCompat app on your phone.
All right, so you can start.
Hello. I'm at his door.
Today we're going to be starting an online math class with my students. So I have a student I'm going to be training in mathematics.
YouTube video, and you start posting that YouTube video. You just get all your points from the YouTube video, and you now use that YouTube video to teach people about what you are doing. No.
Hello, great mind. Hope you are doing great today. This is Victor Otasowie, and you joined our personal growth challenge, our personal development challenge. Now, today we are going to be showing you how to design your own thumbnails. So it's not.
So we also have another question which you can also check out together, which is we have 2 cos x plus 1 equal to 0.
So today I'm going to show you how to create a PowerPoint presentation.
Together we can make this project a reality. Your support will go a long way to make this project possible, and I do believe that you'll be of great help to us to make it happen.
Pretty wonderful project you're working on. Best of luck, Victor. It's
Thank
really
you so much,
beautiful.
Mona. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Shout out to the following persons. Shout out to Oliver Werner Nettiger from Germany. Shout out to Guilherme Michael. Shout out to Jean Christian Ridoni. Shout out to Roberto Cavagnola. Shout out to Efan Sotude Nia. Shout out to Vanessa Martins. Shout out to Dashani Sivakumar. Shout out to all wonderful persons that has been supporting us to ensure that we continue our youth development show. You all are awesome, and we'll try our possible best to always continue giving you the best in whatsoever we are doing. And I think I can see a very great comment here. Thank you for this fruitful session from Everyday Scholarship. Thank you so much, Everyday Scholarship, for being on this program. I think that's from Mona. I think you are the one that connected the person. So thank you so much,
Thank
Everyday
you.
Scholarship, and
Thanks,
also
Mouna.
feel free to subscribe to feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can also be seeing more of this and all that. Once more, thank you so much, Mona. We'll definitely achieve more together, and we look forward to more of this. And this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. We'll have more projects to achieve together. Once more, thank you so much,
Thank
Mona
you.
Louhichi. Do have
Thanks,
a
Victor.
wonderful evening. All
Thank you.
right,
It was
thank you.
wonderful talking to you. And definitely that's the beginning of uh, just the beginning, that's to say. So have a lovely evening.